Imagine a city in the middle of the desert, its walls towering to the heavens, its gates made of bluestone inlaid with gold, and at its center stands an impossible-looking garden. Trees from distant mountains grow in the air, water flows from the tops of towers, and exotic birds sing among flowers that shouldn't live under the Babylonian sun. These are the hanging gardens of Babylon, a wonder of the world whose existence has never been confirmed. And behind those gardens, there's one name, Nebuchadnezzar II. But this isn't a story of magnificent architecture. It's a story of love turned into obsession, and an obsession that nearly destroyed the greatest empire of the ancient world. Nebuchadnezzar II was no ordinary king. He was not born into peace, but into a world consumed by war. When he ascended the throne in 605 BC, Babylon was a mere shadow of its former glory, the ruins of an empire once conquered by the Assyrians. But Nebuchadnezzar had a different ambition. He didn't just want to rule, he wanted to defy the gods. Under his rule, Babylon became a jewel of the ancient world. Blue brick streets led to the Ishtar Gate, city walls 8 chariots wide side by side, and the tower of the temple of Etemenanke soared to the heavens, the legendary Tower of Babel. But beneath all his glory, there was one thing that troubled his soul, the queen of the western mountains, the woman who had driven him to a complete loss of reason, Amethyst of Media. Amethyst was brought to Babylon not for love, but for political reasons. She was a Median princess, part of an alliance Nebuchadnezzar had forged to strengthen his power. But to the queen, Babylon felt like a golden prison. She came from a land of green and cool air, mountains filled with wildflowers and clear waters. Babylon was nothing but a sea of sand and bricks. Every night, Amethyst sat on the palace balcony, staring up at the starlit sky, and wept. And one night, Nebuchadnezzar heard her. The cry soft, yet enough to penetrate the palace walls and shatter a king's pride. That night, Nebuchadnezzar swore, "Greater than if the heavens refuse to give you rain, then I will make it myself." For years, thousands of laborers, architects, and slaves labored day and night. They brought soil from the Euphrates River Valley, hoisting it aloft on giant wooden wheels that turned like sundials. Layer upon layer of gardens were built tower high, dreamlike. Cypress trees, date palms, pomegranates, and roses from the Median mountains were planted atop the bricks and mounds of fertile soil. Water was channeled to the summit by a pumping system so sophisticated that historians thousands of years later still wonder how it worked. And when the gardens were finished, Amethyst fell silent. She saw the trees swaying in the artificial breeze, heard the trickle of water pouring from the sky, and smelled the scent of flowers that grew only in her land. She whispered softly, "Greater than you have stolen the sky for me, Nebuchadnezzar." But the king only smiled, for in his heart, the gardens were no longer a gift. They had become a symbol of eternity, obsession, power. After the gardens were completed, Nebuchadnezzar began to lose his way. He relentlessly expanded his empire, attacking Jerusalem, destroying Solomon's temple, and taking thousands of Jews into exile. He no longer slept, he no longer ate, he no longer spoke to the queen who had been the reason he had built the gardens. All that remained was the sound of water dripping over the palace, like a whisper from the false heavens he had created. In ancient records, there is a chilling story that in his old age, Nebuchadnezzar began speaking to stones and trees. He claimed to hear the gods laughing at him. And one day, he disappeared from the palace. It is said that for 7 years, the king lived in the desert, walking on his hands and knees, eating grass like an animal. When he returned, his hair was long, his nails like claws, and his eyes empty. He looked at his hanging gardens now filled with weeds and dust and chuckled. "I built a paradise on earth, but in heaven, there is no place for humans." After his death, Babylon slowly fell into ruin. The hanging gardens, a wonder of the world that brought nations to their knees, vanished without a trace. No archaeologist has ever found them. Not a single stone remains. Some believe the gardens were merely a legend. But among the ruins of Babylon, a small inscription was found that read, "Greater than for him who longs for mountains." I built a sky on sand. Perhaps the gardens did exist. Or perhaps, like the king's love, they simply lived amidst legend and madness.